Luis, let's get to the crunch of it. Was it a penalty for you?
I think I was going to call more the first challenge than the second one. The second one is a little bit harsh, a little bit soft. Once again, you can see that the defender kind of opened a little bit the arm, but he's pushed a little bit, so that arm even go higher to receive the ball. Doesn't even know where the ball is. I understand that he's far away from his body, so I understand that the referee decided to call it and pointed the spot, but definitely for me, I think it's a very soft. You can see right there a little bit. In this replay, it's very difficult to see it. He waits and for the call from the VAR, but there doesn't even see the ball. He's not trying to make himself big. He's just in the air, so you cannot control your arms in the air. You cannot push your hand in the air when you don't even know where the ball is. So I think it's a little bit harsh, this challenge, and well, I wouldn't call it, but that's the way that today happened for the referee.
Okay, you can call it soft, but if you follow the LaLiga rules, according to LaLiga rules, if your arms is not in natural position, it's a penalty. So for referee, I think he just followed the rules. So if you follow the rules, it's a penalty. Now, I agree that it might be a little bit harsh because the player wasn't even looking at it. I think the rules exist because a lot of players can pretend, oh, I'm not seeing it, so I'm stretching my arms, so I'm not seeing it, so it's not a penalty. So I think that's why the rules exist. Last year, Militao also considered a similar penalty where he stretched his arms, but he didn't see the ball. But just because the ball hit his arms, that was given a penalty. So if we follow the rules, it should be a penalty.
Soft penalty said?
For me, both of the penalties are. The one that wasn't given and the one that is given. They both are. That said, I'm perfectly prepared to have a goalkeeping expert, a refereeing expert say to me, this is why it is or this is why it isn't. And we just have to accept it, because these days I genuinely do sometimes feel to myself, I don't know what a penalty is anymore. Certainly not for handballs. But for me, both of those probably were.
And to be honest, I felt the first penalty was more stronger call than the second one. In my opinion, if you give the second one penalty, the first one should be penalty too.
Much the same. We talked about it a week or so ago. Lucas Digne for Aston Villa in a Premier League match this season. Very much the same scenario. The ball, he was again jumping and leaning back the way. And I think if you watch this clip as well, not only is the defender sort of jumping back the way because that's his natural position, but Benzema has some contact on him, just a little bit. So that's already knocking him, and you just can't. This is what drives me crazy with referees. You just cannot do that with your arms at your side.
Yeah.
You just can't. And the Lucas Digne one wasn't given, same as this. Ref goes to the monitor. He gave it, the same as this. And then the Premier League or the PGMOL, the match officials, said it was wrong. It was a wrong call, and the referee's on-field decision should have stood. And I feel here, the referee's on-field decision at the time, which was no penalty, I thought that should have called. And look, I know it was 2-0, but once this happened, it changed the game. Yeah. Benzema scores the penalty.
Yes.
Sergio Leon loses the plot, gets himself sent off for a second yellow for vehemently having a pop at the fourth official. So everybody kind of had lost the way a little bit. But yeah, I agree with Sid that it's just sometimes we talk about these handballs, and I don't think referees, even FIFA qualified referees, can give us a definitive answer and where exactly this law stands.
So to be honest, I haven't seen the goal he's talking about from Premier League, so I cannot comment on that goal. But one thing that we should do in every league, we should have consistent penalty decision. Like whatever happens, every league should have the same outcome. I think UEFA should take initiative to have common rules in every European countries for penalties.
Away from that penalty, Luis, I thought Real Madrid looked a bit rusty today.
Well, we kind of expect that. Real Madrid just came from the international break, so we would not expect silky, smooth football. And that's what happened. First half, a little bit slow-paced football, but second half, after the sub, especially once Camavinga, Rodrigo and Vasquez came in, Real Madrid increased their tempo, and we saw the difference eventually.
Yeah, very much. Very plain, no intensity at all. I think the midfield was a little bit lost with Ceballos, with Kroos in a holding midfield. That is his position, but he was overrun at some moments. We didn't see the best of Valverde or Asensio. Vinicius was the only main threat in most of the times. Benzema, until that challenge on the penalty and right after the second goal, we didn't see much about him. The ball were not arriving in right conditions to the player that looks still out of fitness. He's going to need another 2 or 3 games to see the best of Benzema once again. But definitely it wasn't the best performance of Real Madrid. Valladolid believed that they could get something from this game and start controlling most of the parts during the game, even had the best chances, in my opinion. It was Courtois, the one who denied them. And it was Real Madrid who, at the end, because of the quality and the talent that they got up front, were more clinical and got the 3 points.
I do agree. Performance-wise, Valladolid's performance was on par with Real Madrid. They were playing equally. They weren't playing as if they're playing the champions of the Champions League or the winner of La Liga last year. They were playing without any fear. Also, I agree that the Courtois save was insane today. For me, he was man of the match. But the best chance creation, the best opportunity for this match overall was the Benzema's miss in first half. Also, the reasons of Real Madrid's lack of chance creation, especially at first half, was the inclusion of Asensio. I don't think he can play at right wing side at this age. He doesn't have the pace. He doesn't have the dribbling ability. He doesn't have the ability to take on players. So if you play Asensio, you are doomed, in my opinion. I think the best way to utilize Asensio is to use him as a super sub.
2 goals for Benzema, Sid, obviously with a point to prove given what happened in the World Cup. We haven't spoken to you for a couple of months. What has been the main narrative surrounding his return from the World Cup to the Real Madrid squad, given the reports that are coming out saying that, well, actually, he could have stayed and played from the last 16?
Yeah, I mean, given that the focus of this is seen sort of from Benzema's point of view, I think in Spain, I think there's a very clear sense that he was denied the opportunity to have been part of a team that could have won the World Cup. And then, of course, that gets extended into analysis that says, had he been there, maybe they would have won the World Cup in the final because he'd been able to play from the kind of the quarterfinals or semi-final level onwards. He would certainly have been able to be on the bench for the final, and that maybe that would have changed things. And it feels kind of sad, I think, from a Spanish point of view, given how good this last season's been, given the fact that, of course, he won the Balon d'Or, that he's kind of come out of the shadow of that auxiliary role that he played for so long. And I think more than anything else, there's a sense of kind of disappointment with the way that this was managed. Now, obviously, that's from a position of not knowing exactly what happened between him and Deschamps, what happened between him and the French Football Federation, and what the reasons were for the obvious reluctance to keep him as part of the setup, and what may or may not have been said between him and Deschamps in the build-up to that sort of last 2 or 3 weeks of, well, the last 2 weeks of the World Cup. But yeah, fundamentally, the response to this in Spain has been of kind of, what a pity. You know, all of these years of Benzema kind of trying to prove himself, gets the season that looks like it's perfect, and then it ends in a way that's been deeply, deeply disappointing for him.
So I don't want to comment on this because already gone chapter. We can focus on different things. But this is what I'll say. Deschamps never wanted Benzema. He never wanted. He just included him just because he won the Balon d'Or. Once Benzema got the minor injury, he was looking for those opportunities so that he can send Benzema back to Real Madrid. Anyway, let's focus on today's match. For me, the man of the match is Courtois. The second game-changing player today for me was Camavinga. Since Camavinga came in, the tempo, the speed of the match was totally different. And Real Madrid played much faster with higher intensity and created more chances and dominated at midfield. And after Modric came in, what a pass to Camavinga from Modric. And Camavinga, oh my god, the pace he had in that assist, incredible. And from Benzema, what a world-class finish. And Benzema scored 2 goals today, including 1 penalty. I think these 2 goals were needed much for Benzema, for his confidence. As we saw at first half, he was a little bit clumsy, but in second half, he got much better. Overall, 3 huge points. We are top of the table until Barcelona plays tomorrow. Let me know in the comment section, who is your man of the match? Is it Courtois or Benzema?